Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lachlan and this is my booktube. Today's video is going to be my top 21 books of 2021. I know that sounds like a lot to get through, so in order to not make this video an hour long, I'm going to just briefly talk about these books. If you're not already subscribed and you want to be, make sure to hit that subscription button and give this video a like. I think I have 8 fantasy books, 10 romance books, and then 3 graphic novels, so I'll have timestamps if you want to skip to a certain genre or whatever. I could have done top 10, but I read 141 books, well probably more than that because I did some rereads. Yeah, so I read almost 150 books in 2021. I physically could not narrow it down to 10. I just physically couldn't do it. So you're getting my top 21, okay? And I'm gonna start off with the fantasy genre, and then we'll get into romance, and then I'll talk about my favorite graphic novels slash mangas. So the first book that I have to talk about is actually not even a fantasy. It's a thriller, but it's the only thriller on my top 21 list. So I just threw it in the fantasy category because it kind of felt a little bit fantasy. Not really, but we're just gonna go with it, okay? Ace of Spades. I was in Barnes & Noble one day and I saw this and I was like, I'm intrigued. And then I got home and then I just started reading like the first paragraph just to see like, you know, the vibe, whatever. And then I didn't stop reading it. Like, I literally could not put this book down. Ace of Spades is a dark academia thriller. It's a young adult dark academia. And I think the author describes it as a mix between Get Out and Gossip Girl, which is pretty accurate in my opinion. I think if you like Pretty Little Liars, Gossip Girl, dark academia, and thrillers, or YA thrillers in general, you're gonna vibe with this. Like, I literally couldn't put it down. I also really love the fact that it's a thriller that deals with racism. I'm not even big on thrillers, but this one just, I physically couldn't put it down and I loved it so much. Next book on my fantasy list is The Keeper of Night. This is a dark young adult fantasy with Japanese folklore. The atmosphere in this book, the writing, the characters, I just fell in love with it. The female lead is super badass and I loved her. She is a reaper who collects souls in the streets of London, I believe. And there's like social status and social order to like the Grim Reaper world. I just really loved this book. It knocked my socks off. Literally couldn't put it down. Highly recommend if you like dark young adult fantasy books. Okay, the next book on the list is technically a duology. So technically, in my mind, it's like the duology is my favorite, but I'll just hold up the first book, which is Six of Crows. Oh my gosh, this was one of the first books that I read in 2021. And I know it's really popular and there's already a show about it and a lot of people know about it, but if you don't know, this takes place in the Grishaverse. This is by Leigh Bardugo, and I read it before I read Shadow and Bone series, so you don't need to read that series before you read this, just letting you know. You're gonna be a little bit confused if you read. Let me tell you what it's about first, okay? This book follows a group of 6 misfits that go on this heist to get a lot of money, and it's alternating point of view. So each chapter is like a different point of view for a different character. In the group of 6, we have a convict, a sharpshooter, a thief, a heartrender, and a spy, and a runaway. So those are the 6 kind of people that we follow. And I almost want to call them a friend group because that's kind of what it turns into. Absolutely freaking adore this duology, okay? This right here is where it's at. If you haven't read Six of Crows and you like fantasy, if you like heists, how do I say that? Heist? I can say heist, but not heists. 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 Okay, you get what I'm saying, right? Okay, so yeah, if you like heists, then go read this now. So the next book on my list is one I'm absolutely in love with, and that would be Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber.
You guys.
I loved her Caraval world, but this I love even more, okay? So this book follows Evangeline, who has the love of her life basically like go and try and marry this other woman. I don't know. It starts off like kind of sketch. You're like,
why is he trying to marry somebody else?
And so obviously she doesn't want that to happen, so she tries to stop the wedding and she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts. And making a deal with the Prince of Hearts is not a great idea, and she kind of realizes that, but then it's like, well, It is what it is. We already did it. This book is very, very whimsical. I felt like a freaking princess reading it. It is so good. If you like fairy tales, if you like anything like whimsical and magical, read this book. I'm telling you, it's a young adult fantasy, and it kind of restored my faith in young adult fantasy, because for a hot minute I was like,
I don't know how I'm feeling with these books that I've been reading.
but this book was like, hold my beer and read me, and that's exactly what I did. Being in this world was so incredibly fun. There are so many good scenes. There's also some like twists and turns. If you like fairy tale stories and whimsical magical stories, you have to read this. And the next book on my list is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. So this is also a really popular one. If you like Sarah J Maas, you'll love this. This is a high fantasy romance with vampires in it. So do I need to really say anything else? Just go read it. Seriously. It is a new adult fantasy, so it's kind of spicy. It's got some good little tidbits in there. It's basically about this girl named Poppy who kind of grows up very sheltered. She's like a maiden, and she's kind of like the chosen one. Hawk will forever be a top tier book boyfriend for me. Number 3 in the list, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. I read this book 2 times last year, and my Lord have mercy. If you have read ACOTAR by Sarah J Maas and you like Criminal Minds, it's literally Criminal Minds meets ACOTAR, okay? It's like a fantasy murder mystery kind of thing. The whole time you're just like on the edge of your seat, finding out all these things, all these twists and turns. This is a urban high fantasy, and so there's a lot of like world building, and you have a lot of brain power to be used when you're first reading this book. But I'm telling you, it is so worth it. After like the first 150, 200 pages, it really like starts to pop off, but it pops off before that. I'm just saying, like, there's some world building, but you guys, it's so good. Like, I cried so hard the first time I read this, and then the second time I cried even harder the whole time. I was just like, I couldn't stop crying because I was just like, it's too much. The characters in this book, Sarah has a way with words. She has a way with characters, a way with world building. It is god tier, and I will forever be mass trash because holy shit. Now, another thing is, I saw this on the spicy book talk table at Barnes & Noble one day.
No. No.
Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. This is not a spicy book, okay? There's like one scene that's kind of spicy. It's not that. The second book, though, that's coming out this year is apparently going to be really spicy. Now, don't quote me on that if it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying it's supposed to be really spicy, so that's what Sarah said. But Sarah says a lot of things, so I don't really know. Okay, and now we're down to my top 2 fantasies of 2021, you guys. I'm literally about to shit my pants because I love these books so much. Empire of the fucking Vampire. This book, you guys, holy
Shit.
this is your 18 plus dark, vulgar, epic vampire fantasy. If you're looking for that, this is it. The world building is so good. I really love the characters. The banter is fucking hilarious, okay? So funny. My friend Riri also read this, quote unquote, if there is a slow burn for love, this is a slow burn for heartbreak. Like, now imprisoned by the very monsters Gabriel vowed to destroy, the last Silver Saint is forced to tell his story. A story of legendary battles and forbidden love, of faith lost and friendships won, of the wars of the blood and the forever king, and the quest for humanity's last remaining hope, the Holy Grail. So this book basically follows Gabriel, who's imprisoned, and it's him telling his life story. It's like Witcher meets Interview with the Vampire, and I don't know, I really loved it. It deals with the topic of like religion and kind of loss of faith. This book really resonated with me whenever I was reading it, and long after, it lives rent-free in my head. Just be aware it's super vulgar and very dark. Like the themes are very dark. The next book in my top, I think it was 8 fantasies, that would be A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. If you don't know, this is the 4th installment in the ACOTAR series. Well, technically it's the 5th because A Court of Frost and Starlight. It is a book about healing. I was about to say it's a book about a book. No. This follows Nesta, who is very misunderstood. Nesta is one of those characters who is very like quick to anger, slow to forgive. She doesn't really trust people. When she makes something up in her mind, that's what it is, okay? And she don't like you. Because I had already read so much of Sarah's writing before, I knew that there was going to be more to Nesta, and not to take her at face value. She is quite a developed character, very in-depth. It's unreal. The trauma that she has been through and the emotional healing that she goes through in this book is unparalleled, okay? I've never read anything like it. I don't think I'll ever read anything like it in my entire life, unless Sarah just continues to write more books that blow me away, okay? The ACOTAR series is it started out as a young adult fantasy, but it turned into more of like a new adult. This one is the spiciest out of the whole series. It's just a very emotional book. I just really relate to Nesta, and I think her character is amazing. Sarah is literally the best at writing characters, okay? Because the development of her characters are amazing. But the world building is amazing. Just the vibes are amazing. This series will forever be like one of my favorites, and it's really, really thick. It's a really thick book. This is a freaking masterpiece, okay? Whenever it was released, so it was released in February of 2021, and I live in Texas, and we had a freeze that whole week. I actually read this on a Kindle because I couldn't get like a physical copy because Texas was frozen. So I sat on my couch in 5 layers and just read this book in 2 days. I freaking love Sarah's writing. It's so comforting to me. Cassian and Nesta will forever, like, this book is just everything. So now we're gonna jump into the romance section of this video, and I'm really excited. I have 10 romance books to talk about, and number 10 on this list would be There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. So this is the first Sophie Lark book I ever read, and this is also the first serial killer romance I ever read. This is a dark romance, and so yeah, definitely trigger warnings for most of these books that I'm about to talk about.
Basically all of them.
But yeah, this is a serial killer romance, and I really loved the way that the male character treated the female character. I just thought like it was so swoon-worthy. I know you're probably like, he was a serial killer, what are you talking about? It was one of those things where it was like he hated everyone but her, okay? You know, like touch her and you die. This is a duet, so both of the books are technically on my favorites, but just for the sake of like a top 10, yeah, this one. And I can definitely see this being a comfort duet because I already want to reread it. But I think it's just because Sophie's writing I really, really enjoy. I really love her humor. I really love the way that she writes her characters. Since I've read this, I've read more of Sophie, and I can safely say that she's one of those authors that will become an auto-buy author. I just not only love Sophie as a person, because I've stalked her quite a bit on social media, but her writing is so good and like so addicting. There's something about it that I found really comforting because it had so many references to things, and like the vibes of, it's just the vibes, okay? We're going by vibes here, and this passed the vibe check, and I just really loved it, so that's why, okay? So my 9th book for my top 10 romances would be Birthday Girl. This is also one of those things where I'm like going off of vibes here. This is a taboo age gap romance, and
Oh my Lord, have mercy.
this was so good. If you like age gap and you haven't read this, what are you doing? It follows Jordan and Pike, and Jordan is dating this guy who like, but then like there's his dad. Daddy Pike took care of her, and it's just really, really good. Like the reason I say this is another like vibe book that I just freaking love and is a comfort read is because like honestly Penelope just did a really, really good, oh yeah, it's by Penelope Douglas, I don't think I said that. Penelope just did a really good job with like the vibes of this book. There's a playlist that goes with it, and it's really, really spicy. Like not the playlist, but the book is spicy. The playlist is really good, but the book is really, really spicy, and I just really love these characters, and it made me laugh. So the 7th book on this list would be Punk 57, and this one is a childhood friends to enemies to lovers. This one follows Misha and Ryan, who are childhood pen pals. so they don't meet until a certain point in their life, and the female character is not likable per se, but she's somehow relatable. Like, she's not really a good person. There is something about her that I still liked, even though she was not likable, if that makes sense. Like, Penelope knew she wasn't likable, but somehow, I don't know, I ended up loving this chick. So I also really loved Misha. They became pen pals because their names are gender neutral. So Misha is the guy and then Ryan is the girl. And they were paired up on accident because they thought, the teacher thought it was both two boys. Misha's a musician and Ryan's a cheerleader, and they're very, very opposite. And yeah, it's like they hate each other when they meet, and it's like enemies to lovers. So yeah, go read it. No, but seriously, Penelope Douglas is amazing, and I love this book so much. It made me cry towards the end. There's just like a lot of, it's very emotional. Like, it doesn't look like it would be an emotional book. It doesn't sound like it would be, but it's very emotional. Throughout the book, it kind of deals with like a dysfunctional family kind of issue, but it really, like, towards the end is like where it's like dealt with. And so yeah, it made me cry, and I really love these characters, and I read this book twice as well this year or last year, and yeah, it's definitely one of my all-time favorites. So the next book on this list would be Archer's Voice, and
Oh my god.
this one has the impaired hero trope to it, and the female character moves to a new town to kind of start over. So it has that vibe to it. It's got like a small town vibe. This one follows Archer and Bree, and it's just so heartwarming. Archer is one of those characters that can literally do no wrong, in my opinion, and this is another book that I will reread because when I think about it, it just gives me good vibes, okay? I just love the setting of this book. I love the vibes of this book. And the author, I don't think I said, is Mia Sheridan. So the next book I have is Flock by Kate Stewart. And this is a trilogy. This is kind of like a contemporary romance, but it's like on the darker side of contemporary romance. And definitely trigger warnings for this book. It's also reverse harem. So if you like that, I don't want to like blow up your expectations to think it's like this big reverse harem, because there's like one scene, I believe. I've heard people compare this to Credence, which I have not read yet, but like similar vibes like that. It's got like Fight Club vibes. It's about this girl that moves to like this town to work for her dad, and she ends up like meeting these guys, and she kind of gets like in the mix of them, and it like changes things. I don't know, it's just really good. Go read it. No, but seriously, if you like books that will make you cry, this series will definitely make you cry. I sobbed. Also, I have videos on a lot of these books, so if you want to hear more about them, I will definitely link them below. So next book on my top romance of 2021 is Kill Switch. This is by Penelope Douglas, another Penelope Douglas. Yes, I know. This is the third book in the Corrupt series, so you do need to read Corrupt and then Hideaway and then Kill Switch, but this is my favorite from the series, so that's why I'm pulling this one up. It's a very dark romance that a lot of people hate because it's, you know, if you have questionable morals, I guess, I don't know. I never questioned my morals until I read this series, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Why do I like this? Look, I can't explain it to you, but Damon Torrance, oh my god, this man is a freaking psychopath, and I love him because he's so troubled. This follows Damon and Winter, and their romance is everything to me. I love it so much. I cried during this book. Look how thick it is. Like, it's very thick, and forever holds a special place in my heart, and I cannot wait to reread this one day because it's just so freaking good. So yeah, if you like dark romance, it's a dark, suspenseful romance. So the next book we have is Gothicana by Runix. That's a pen name, and this is the only book that I've read of this author, but holy cow, so freaking good. This is an indie romance that is a dark academia, and the vibes of this book, the setting is everything. Like, it takes place in a castle. And it reminded me a lot of Dracula, which is one reason I loved it so much. It's a student-teacher romance, or he's a professor. And there's also like a scene with forced proximity in this book, and oh my god, it's just like everything. I not only loved the romance of this book, but the setting and the vibes were everything, and the fact that it was an actual dark academia, like with murders and shit like that. So good. I loved it so much. I can't even describe. There are like typos and stuff, so like if that bothers you, just be aware. It did not bother me because I was so immersed in the story. I literally read it in one sitting. It's so good. I cried at one point because I was so happy because I love them so much. Corvina and Vad, like their relationship is just so good, and whenever I think about this book, it makes me so happy and I can't wait to reread it. Gothicana is so good. So the number 3 spot would be The Deal by Elle Kennedy. Oh my gosh, you guys. So definitely trigger warnings for this too. This is a hockey romance and it takes place in college and it's quite cheesy at times, but oh my gosh, like it's just so good. The main character has kind of like a PTSD going on. She's a victim. She meets this guy named Garrett and he's doing really bad on his, you know, in his school, and she's like really good at it. So she starts like tutoring him, and then he finds out that she has like this crush on this guy. So then he's like, well, you know, I'm really popular, so why don't we like date? So there's fake dating in this book, and which I freaking love fake dating. Like that's one of my favorite tropes. And so they start fake dating and like he falls for her. He's like this super popular playboy guy and he meets her and then he just like falls in love with her, and it's just so good. Hockey romance with fake dating, reformed playboy. I've read this book twice already and it's just so good. Like it's an all-time favorite because of the vibes that it gives me and the feels that it gives me, and when I think about this book, I just love everything about it. And like I said, it does have its cheesy, you know, cliche moments, but I'm telling you, like, just give this series a chance. The number 2 romance and my all-time favorite, oh my god, I keep saying all-time, it's supposed to be 2021, but like, oh, this is an all-time favorite. You guys, The Takeover by T.L. Swan. This is a like billionaire workplace romance, so if you like that kind of thing, you need to read this series. This is a part of the Miles High Club series, which is a 3-book series, which there's gonna be another book, but this, anyway, so this is the second book. You can read them out of order. Like, you don't really have to read them in order. There's like minor spoilers, but whatever. It's like not that big of a deal. The Stopover is the first one, which I really, really love that one. This one is the second one. This is god tier. So good. The humor, oh my god. I really love T.L. Swan's humor. I love her writing. I sobbed like a baby reading this because there's something that happens that's just like very emotional. The main character is a widow, and that's not a spoiler, but she is a widow, and so there's just like, so, and she has some kids too, so it's just very emotional when it came to that aspect. The guy is just so good. Oh, just everything. Like, I just freaking love this book so much. In the beginning of this book, I remember being like, I don't know how I'm gonna like this because she does have kids, and I remember thinking like, I don't care about this lady's kids. But oh my god, I ended up caring so much. I think I have a clip actually of when I read this. If I still have the clip, I'll include it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. How much longer is this gonna go on? Because this is fucking painful. If this ever makes it to the internet, this is gonna be embarrassing, but like, oh god. Just keep it real with you guys, okay?
Oh my, I cared so much. You guys. The Takeover by T.L. Swan. Ultimate god tier, so good. So, the book that takes the number 1 spot for my romances. Addicted to You. This is a friends to lovers, roommates to lovers, fake dating. It also has the billionaire trope to it and like the childhood friends. I don't know if I already said that. But the first time I read this, I ended up crying towards the end because I just found it really emotional. It deals with obviously addiction. The female character has a sex addiction and the male character, Lo, is an alcoholic. It's a very toxic relationship. They use each other to hide their addictions basically. And so it starts off like that and it's just so emotional. The whole series, it's got 10 books and it's so freaking emotional. When I tell you guys that I think about these characters on a daily basis, like I'm not exaggerating. The whole series has so many different tropes. It's got like the reality TV trope, virgin heroine trope, age gap, forbidden love, and like rivals to lovers. I think that's most of the tropes in the whole series. I might be missing a few. But yeah, this one starts off the series. As you read more from the series, it just gets better and better. And I just think about them every day and they're real to me. Like they really feel like real people. It's just an emotional roller coaster, you guys. Like if you read this series and you're like a hopeless romantic, just be ready to like give your soul over to the entire series. The character development, I've never in my entire life read such good character development besides Sarah J Maas. Like I don't, now it's so different. Like contemporary romance, I have a really hard time comparing to fantasy. That's why I like have to keep them separated. But the character development in this is phenomenal. Like it's so good. And I love these characters so much with my whole heart. Like so proud of them for everything that they go through in the series. And I just, every day I wish I was their friend. Like I wish I was in the core 6. So it follows 6 friends, or some of them are family. But yeah, on the cover it says 2 best friends, 1 epic love story. And that's literally so accurate, okay? I just so badly wish I could like be their friend in real life and like text them and call them and go to their house. Like that's just how this series makes me feel. I'll put up a little picture of the series order and how to read the series. There are a lot of books, but it's so worth it, let me tell you. Also, the series is super character driven. So if you're not one of those people who enjoys character driven stories, then you're probably not going to like this series because it's a lot of the books don't actually have a plot. This series is literally like reading a reality TV show, but it's funny because in the later books there's actually a reality TV show that takes place within the books. So anyway, it's really entertaining and I have fallen in love with the characters. So yeah, if you like character driven contemporary romance, definitely check this series out. Give it at least 3 books into the series before you quit it. Don't read the first one and then just think that's what the whole series is going to be like, because a lot of the books follow different characters and yeah, it's just so good. So we are getting it down to the last 3 books that I have to talk about, which are for graphic novels. And the first one that I have here is Lore Olympus. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it's just so amazing. The art is so good. The writing is so cute. Oh my, I was like screaming when I read this book. So yeah, if you like graphic novels, definitely check it out. Even if you don't like graphic novels, read it anyway, okay? And then for manga, I have Woodakoi. This is a workplace romance, childhood friends to lovers, and it's just so cute. It's about these 2 nerdy people who couldn't be more perfect for each other. And they reminded me of my husband and I think that's why I loved it so much, but it's also just a really, really cute manga. It's like a slice of life manga. So if you like slice of life manga, you have to read this. It's so, so cute. The art is so cute. Like the writing is just god tier. I loved this manga. And the last book I have to talk about is Orange. This, wrong side. This is like a light sci-fi manga. It basically follows this group of friends, and the main character gets a letter from herself, from her future self, and telling her some things, and it's just really emotional, and definitely trigger warnings for this series. I have both of the volumes here, but it's just really good. I cried a lot reading this. It's really emotional. I'm probably not explaining it correctly, but this is a shoujo manga. So if you like shoujo, which is like very like fruity, sweet romance, and yeah, it's a must read. Like if you've watched the anime and you haven't read them, you need to read them. Vice versa. I'm currently making my way through the anime, which I love. I'm so glad that I read this, and it's so good. If you haven't read manga before, this is a really good place to start, I think. But if you haven't read manga, this is also a really good place to start. So take your pick, read these, and if you like them, let me know and we can talk about them. Holy shit, you guys. If you sat through this whole video, you literally deserve a piece of cake or something. If you made it this far, you can leave like an award emoji. These books should win all kinds of awards in my opinion. I just love them so freaking much. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And let me know if you've read any of these books and if any of them are your favorites as well. And I'll see you guys later in my next video. And then I'll talk about my favorite graphic novels slash One day, her world is kind of like tipped on its axis. Is that how you say that? I don't know. Whatever. Her world is changed. Yeah. Her world has changed. And, okay, don't say that. What Poppy thought the world was indeed not what the world was. And it follows Nesta Archeron, who is the Besta. No, don't say that. And it follows Nesta Archeron, who is our misunderstood queen, okay? Well, that's not a spoiler. Like, she's not actually a queen. Anyway, okay. So, this is the first Sophie Luck book. So, towards the end, well, throughout the book, actually, it deals with, like,